Great, great, great. Okay, so basically, like today, I will be just, you guys can quickly introduce yourself, starting from Steve, and then we can follow up just to know quickly about like couple of 30 seconds what you do, and then we can start the panel discussion. Steve, you are muted. Could you please unmute?
I was unmuted now.
Yes.
Yes, and a quick introduction. I'm co-founder of Decentraland Film Festival and the Star Cinema. I've been in the crypto space since about 2015. Mostly as a hodler, do some trading, but also an NFT collector. I'm involved in various other projects, but primarily, I suppose, as my reason for being here is as a filmmaker. And my interest is in film in particular.
Nice one. Nice one. Here, Steve. Nice one. Okay. Could you please, Gia, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Gia Castello, and I am advisor for the grants program at Decentraland.
That's amazing. Jess?
Yes. Hi, I'm Jess. I am an NFT artist on known origin, and also I am the head of corporate at nonfungible.com, which is the biggest and oldest data provider on the NFT markets.
That's amazing. And we have Chris here.
Hey guys, good morning. 9 o'clock in the morning here. My name is Chris Oniya. I'm the founder and visionary for MetaTrekkers in Decentraland. We're a POI, a point of interest in Decentraland. We focus on 3 things: entertainment, education, and investment. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. So I have kind of collected most of the interesting questions. Which new projects might have applying for the Decentraland fund and grants? So first of all, I would ask Gia to give, first of all, more information about the grants of Decentraland DAO, who doesn't know about it. And after that, I will go with questions, and each of you can answer them, and we can have a discussion.
I love it. Yes. So the grants program in Decentraland allows any member of the community to request funding to help build this metaverse that we want to do, owned and created by the users. So this proposal initially was voted from the community, and today it sets aside some funds for the people to request them and fund the projects.
Okay, that's amazing. And this question kind of always floats around among the projects. So what would you recommend new users in Decentraland to be able to fund their ideas and projects to contribute to the ecosystem? So what would be your recommendation to the newcomers and new projects to Decentraland for applying for grants? Are there some criteria, some feedback you might share?
Yeah, so, well, everyone can ask for a grant. We today have a proposal. I mean, they do have to complete a proposal, and then the DAO, if the community approves it, then the DAO committee executes or transfers the fund for the people who requires for one. So every grant must be approved from the DAO community. And this is like an open proposal. And then any work funded by the DAO must comply, of course, with the Decentraland content policy and terms of use and code of ethics. And then what they have to do, like once they get the fund, is to generate updates. We recommend them to do it monthly because that is like the healthier way to get another grant in the future. And to be supported. One thing that we see that it is a very good practice is that before you require for a grant, you get involved with the community, no? So you start getting involved in the Discord channels and start talking to the community to see like what are the things that you might start thinking that could generate a good impact in the community or that could create value to Decentraland. So I think that's the best way. No, you first like get to know the people, get to know the needs, and then you start thinking about something that could contribute. And then you generate the proposal, the DAO votes, and you get to do it afterwards.
That's amazing. And I want to go next to Chris because he was one of the projects who raised the grant from Decentraland DAO, and want to hear his take on this, like how was the process, and then we can go to Jess and Steve. I have following up questions to you too. So Chris, can you tell us like how was the process of getting this grant?
Okay, before I do that, the first thing I would like to do is say thank you to Gia. I guess my first time actually, meeting her virtually. So I want to say thank you to her for providing this service from Decentraland to us creators, as community builders. It helps a lot. Now to answer Nodo's question as far as how is it to apply for a grant, it was really difficult. I'm not gonna lie, it's just a really, really difficult task. But like in life, nothing is easy, and I think the journey is what made it even more interesting. So when applying for a grant, the first thing you have to do is create a proposal. And before you create the proposal, you have to first go on the governance page and look at other proposals that are similar to yours. So that way you can have, a case study. You can do a case study and you can see which one worked, which one didn't work, why it didn't work, and that can kind of help and guide you in the right direction. After you do that, then you can start writing your proposal. Once you write your proposal, you will then now have to speak to certain, people that that have experience in Decentraland, and these are two types of people. One will be the visionaries, or you can call them the whales. We call them visionaries. I say visionaries. They are the people that's been here for a very long time. They're very supportive of the community, but they want to make sure that the vision is in line with Decentraland. You got to kind of pitch it to them and let them know this is a service you want to provide. This is what you want to do. You hope that, you can get their support. But, for them, it's about vision and does it make sense? And they want to see that the community is also supporting you. If they can see the community supporting you, then they don't have a problem with getting in and supporting you. You also have to speak to community members, and these are regular people. These are users. These are people that experience Decentraland from day to day, and they want to see, they want to see how this can help make their user experience more beneficial and create more value. So you got to kind of find a balance of both sides. Once you do that, and you think you find a balance, and you got a consensus, and then you can kind of put the proposal as a forum. You can put on a forum or the Decentraland DAO Discord, and you can let people know I've talked to a couple people, I've got a consensus, I think I'm ready to go. Can you guys now open let me know how you feel about the proposal. When you put in the forum and everything goes on the forum, if it goes good and you're getting good traction, and you do it on a Discord, you're getting good traction, then you can put it on the Decentraland governance page, and then that's where people can vote on it. But even when you put it there, it's hard. It's hard because it's like Republicans and Democrats. Like Republicans and Democrats, they all want the world to be a better place, but their way of doing it's all different. And that's where it gets hard, because everybody's view and ideology is different. But at the same time, everybody wants to do it for the community. And we all understand it's for the community. And, and that's pretty much it. And so it's not an easy process, but the journey is very fulfilling. And you can learn a lot during this process. So yeah, we were awarded a Tier 5 grant, about $120,000 from the Decentraland DAO, and now we're currently working to build the education and the entertainment side of MetaTrekkers.
Thank you, Chris, for amazing answer. It was very valuable because lots of new projects have the questions what to do. It's a very, very hard job, I can say. I've seen so many grant proposals on the page, and I see how people are trying to get accepted. And I want to hear, Jess, what you think like as an NFT artist, and overall, like what you think about this kind of funding and having grants, what this Decentraland DAO has, like, can you?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a really amazing system because it allows people who otherwise wouldn't have access to that type of funding to actually get the support that they need to create in Decentraland. But also for me, one of the things that's most beautiful about the Decentraland DAO and the whole community is that community aspect, basically, where if you're a real community member who really participates and actually contributes on a regular basis, I think it really does matter when it comes to applying to the DAO, and it makes a really big difference. So it's not about how much money, mana you have, or how much land you have, or any of the things, the sort of monetary things that you might otherwise need in perhaps other projects. To me, this is really exciting, the fact that you can participate and use your time and energy and really participate with the community and learn and get support from the community on how to apply. And I think the Decentraland community is super supportive, and it's a really exciting thing, actually.
And you know what's cool about it is that it enables you to get to know community, right? Even though if your grant won't be approved, you are not losing a lot because you are meeting so many amazing people. You might get the same results with the connections you got during applying for the grant, because it's not just like 3 people who decide, it's whole community, right? That's the good thing about it. And I want to go to Steve and ask him what he thinks about this kind of decentralized grant approval system. Can it be kind of violated by big landholders, and some ideas can be go through? So can you tell us your feedback, your thoughts about it?
Yeah, my knowledge of Decentraland and the DAO and grants is very limited because I come at this from an external point of view.
Yes.
My interest is always about growing the user base. What I can say and endorse what Chris, Gia, and Jess have said is that it is entirely, and it's all about community. It's you won't always win a grant, but you are part of that supportive, collaborative network, and that is crucial. So I can't speak directly to grants because I've never applied for grants in my life. I've always found people to work with and built essentially from the bottom up with very little. My interest, as I said, is bringing in a user base which will hopefully bring its own funding. So, for example, with the film cinema we have, the idea is to attract film festivals which already exist in the real world. They're very large. There's thousands of them. They generate a lot of revenue, but of course there are restrictions on attending these places, geography and economics being the key ones. So the idea was then is to get them to run in parallel film festivals, then to bring users to buy tickets. So that's tapping into an existing community and trying to provide a service. So in those situations, it is bringing people who are not in crypto at all, they have no knowledge of it whatsoever, and to bring them in and engage them in the process. That can lead to a whole range, that can get them involved in a lot more projects on Decentraland. And I've seen this work particularly well in communities like the Henny Discord with the Damien Hirst NFT. 95% of the people in that Discord group were art collectors. I was about the only crypto guy in there who was talking to them. 15 months on, people are there, they're running their own blogs, they're running NFT projects, they're some of them are, DeFi DJs, they're all engaged in the process. This is in 12 months, really quite phenomenal. And these were people who are really quite stiff, quite stand back. They're running their own blog pages, they're doing tutorials, a whole range of things. But even saying, look, here's tips on how to split your nano ledger for NFTs. So, there's a whole range of things. This is 12 months. So this is the power of bringing in the community that have no interest in NFTs or anything else. And we've already spoken to people about using Decentraland galleries. So the same artists say now use spaces. So it is really about community, but different communities in this instance outside, and introduce them into services they can use and hopefully bring with them a revenue source. and therefore you can fund your own projects. And which, of course, you know, you can only rely on foundations and grants for so long. At the end of the day, you do need to be able to generate revenue.
That's great. Thanks for amazing answer. And one question is coming from auditory, like there. If you don't know, who doesn't know, we are also live streaming in Decentraland, and people are listening us there. It's amazing experience, actually. You should see, like, people are listening to our amazing panel discussion. And one more question, which can be going towards Jess or Steve, would be, although the grant system is a really important method to raise significant funds, there are other forms of funding the projects. So there can be fees, NFT sales, etc. So maybe, Jess, you can tell us, like, is it still the time where you can start funding your projects through NFTs, NFT sales, like, or some, yeah.
That is a good question. Yes, you can still, but it's definitely not. It's not how it was when we had the most recent boom, and the sort of rage of excitement around all the collectibles markets that we've seen. Definitely you can, but I think it seems like really to make money out of NFT projects these days, it's very much about the community. You have to have a solid, good community around any NFT project. Otherwise, really, the value it's very difficult to establish. So yes, you can, but you need a very good organic community that's real. And you need to bring a lot of utility with your NFTs as well. So just having some kind of usability around them. And I think actually with Decentraland, that's something that does happen. So in theory, you know, obviously wearables, I mean, there's a big utility with a wearable, big utility with an emote, for instance, you know. So I think in Decentraland, from a creative perspective, if you have the right NFT idea, I think absolutely, you know, as long as there's the right community support around you, but just that would be my main answer, I suppose. But definitely a lot more difficult just to make an NFT project and it just to fly, because people are much more discerning now in this bear market, which I think is a good thing.
We should just decide, like, which is easier, to fund the projects through NFT sales or wearable sales, or to apply for the grant for DCL DAO. So it's like challenging,
maybe
right?
You have to do a bit of both. Probably juggle all of it together would be the best way.
Okay. So I want to go to Gia, and she has like big experience, probably seen many projects applying for the grants. And are there some kind of no-nos you can share with any project who, so for example, that's, I don't know, no means that right away it will be kind of rejected from community, or yeah, there should be some guidelines probably, or if you can share your experience, like, because new projects might be interested in.
Yeah, when we, I mean, it's important for the community to be aware of what is needed, no? Because what we are doing is creating, like, together. So in that sense, that's why I was telling, you know, like, understanding what are the needs, what are the possibilities, it's an important part of how to create value, no? So what I would say, and sometimes we notice that in some proposals, which is like, okay, I want to do something that it's super crazy, that it's, but it's so personal that maybe doesn't relate to the rest, or doesn't create that much value to the community. So in that sense, I would say, like, let's think about like public goods or things that would enhance the experience, but not something that it's so personal or so close to you that might not be funded, no? Because that is not the way. Regardless of that, I mean, there are 4 categories, so it's not only like, when we say 4 categories, it's like you can contribute in very, like, in different ways. So for example, if you want to contribute to education or organizing events inside, then it would be like a community one. But then you also have content creation, which is everything related to the content inside, like in world. Then on another side, you can also be a platform contributor. And that is really important and really interesting, because when we give grants, we are investing, we as a community are investing in people and in a set of skill sets that they are going to create. The impact is not only tangible, but the impact is also like broad in terms of like, we are creating spaces or opportunities for people to develop their own skills, no? And sometimes what happens is like, when we think about the grants program, we are not only thinking of as it works now, that one person starts the grant and then it finishes and then they move on. But we are trying to think how we can create a path. So after you get into a grant, then what are the possible exits that because you do have like all those learnings now, you know how to navigate our SDK now, you know the community and so on. So we want like that to create like a bigger loop that fits itself, and the grants program not be the only opportunity. So I don't know if that answers the question, but I think that when we say no's, it's not about the no's, but it's about like how to generate this loop. And if it doesn't go that way, then I would say don't even bother, because it's not not a short-term thing. Like it could be, but it also can be something a lot bigger than that.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I wouldn't say kind of knows, it was my kind of mistake, but I would say like kind of recommendations. So you've seen many applications, and you already know which kind of projects might get like bad feedback from the community and etc. Thanks for that. I think like it is very important in Decentraland, we have this entity where it's kind of motivates people to take on the projects and do this stuff. And like Chris, many projects who apply for the grant promise that they're gonna bring more and more people, and every project says this kind of value proposition. What was your value proposition, Chris, when you applied for the grant? Like how you interested many community members?
Yeah, just like I mentioned yesterday at the at this forum, our project is a little different from an average project. I haven't seen any project like ours in the metaverse, and the reason why I say that is because our project is, we tokenize our land. So the land that we have in the Decentraland, we broke it into pieces, and our NFT holders have 0.03% of our land. So we have over 200 members that are active in the Decentraland and that are involved in our project, because they have land rights. So, like I said, our project is a little different because our NFT holders want to see project or the proposal be successful because they're part of it as well. So when it goes to onboarding, for us, it works because everybody's involved. The grant that we just got applied for, 196 people will be compensated by this grant. And even, I don't think Decentraland, and maybe Gia, I don't think nobody's heard of that before. Just for doing the DJ battle, we had 30 performances. Everybody gets compensated. We visited over 48 different venues. That's over about 90 something. We have the MCs and everybody. So the onboarding process is hard. It's extremely hard because you have to change and persuade somebody's ideology and their way of thinking to come into the metaverse. But if you can do it like Gia said earlier, as a community, and you can build as a community and grow as a community, it's a lot easier because we're working as one, and we're working in one direction. So yes, it is difficult, and I think people do have good intentions. I think they do want to onboard people, but when they're going down the process, they see a lot of difficulties. And that was the reason. We could have had that same problem if we didn't tokenize our project and if we didn't fractionalize it. We could have went down that path. So like I said, ours, I've never seen any project like ours before, and I think that's the reason why we're doing so successful in Decentraland, is because it's a community project where we're backed by the community for the community. But yeah, onboarding is the number one process that you have to do in order for it to work. It has to be, you have to have that onboarding a platform. I think one of the things I told you about yesterday, Nodo, was we worked with Venice Music. They're also our NFT holder as well. So there's a reason why they wanted to, be successful. But we work with them. The founder of Venice is Troy Carter. He managed Lady Gaga, Eve, John Legend, and he partners with Will Smith and many other people. And we had a concert with them July 30th with the Central Games. We could have easily had it at MetaTrekkers, but we reached out to the Central Games and said, look, we got a big record label coming in. We want to work together with you, the Central Games, so we can onboard more people. The Central Games, they came on board, and what we did was all these artists that came, these big artists that have millions of views, we onboarded their fans with the Central Games. So it's just about, like Gia said, working together as a community and strategically building as a community.
Thanks, Chris. Like, very detailed informations like about the newcomer projects, how they can get grants or funding from the DAO. And I want to go back to Steve because he's looking at everything as a third person, and we are all inside the Decentraland. We know everything. So from the third person of view, I want to hear Steve sum up and say your experience as a filmmaker and etc. It's very interesting, right? And and also like Carl, our friend, is always like hosting film festivals in Decentraland. So basically, would be nice to hear from your side as a third person of view what you think overall about the Decentraland, overall as a grants. Is it good or is it bad kind of supporting projects? Because it's a kind of free grants, so basically would be nice to hear your opinion as a looking from outside.
Grants to me seem to be the basis of a relationship, an ongoing relationship where and I suppose they take two forms, I guess, from what I've heard. One is the educational side, introducing people to the space, and then the other side of that is building. For me, as looking at the outside, I mean, those two functions are crucial and both should continue. But going back to the idea of community, and listen to what Chris was saying, it's interesting about sort of bringing in concepts and things. To me, it's trying to introduce culture. And culture is all around us. I mean, there's lots of things. I mean, we can't create football pitches or soccer pitches right now, but hey, you can onboard soccer fans, you can onboard music fans, you can onboard. So there's a whole mass of culture out there, and people will follow culture in very large numbers. So I suppose, in my small way, as passionate about film, but I was a passionate film festival goer, and because I couldn't go to film festivals during the COVID lockdown, that sort of came up with the idea of having a virtual film festival. And so it was to satisfy a need that existed in me and existed in other people. And I think that's what I'm always looking for. When I wander around, I'm going, just to satisfy a need. Does somebody want to do this? And if there's somebody in another community somewhere else, outside Decentraland, it's introduce them to, it's transfer that culture. And you can build one at a time. But it brings people on board into culture. But of course, Decentraland will do other things. I mean, it's a virtual world. It can do education in the absolute traditional sense. Schools education, technical, artistic, and there's a whole vast range of things that can be done beyond things that I can conceive. But I think it's an incredible space with incredible opportunities. But again, funding is difficult, and it's try to think of solutions to the problem yourself before going for a grant. Are there other alternatives to this? NFTs could be an ideal opportunity. Getting a community together outside and bringing them in is another way of doing it. And saying, look, we've built a community outside, let's bring them in and build something. So there are other ways of doing it. Depends on what you want to build.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. So yeah, like this This is so amazing, right? So we are making the panel discussion inside Decentraland and also talking at the same time grants and financing Decentraland projects. So we've come so far, right? We are not somewhere in the conference center in real life. We are actually now sitting homes. People are listening us in the Decentraland. That's already like, I think, big success for everybody involved, right? With the grants, with the community, with the people involved. And just to go towards the closing part of the panel, I would give you like a couple words to share whatever you would like to share. Like, for example, Gia, if you would like to say some final words to the projects who will be coming to apply for the grants, and Jess and then Chris and Steve following. So yeah.
No, in my case, I just want to say that we do have a program of grants in place, but we are doing a lot for like to hear about the grantees. This first step, which is providing support, it's a lot. Like before, if someone applied for a grant, they didn't have an onboarding. Today, we are like connecting with them directly, letting them know from like if they have like any blockers or any requests that they have to the team. So in that sense, having support for the grants today, it's something that didn't exist and now we have it. But we are also learning a lot of what are the frequent blockers, what are the frequent requests that they have, and trying to like make a framework of support to make them successful, because also like in the past we didn't know. And this is like, I have the same feeling as you said now. This is just the start. We are now connecting, like there were a lot of cells along the way, and now we are trying like to connect and create that connection. I think this panel illustrates that. And I want to look into the future and see how this evolves, because it really, yes, it really excites me that these things happen.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. So Jess, any final words before we close down?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I mean, in general, I was just going to say, I feel like this next building period that we have that's happening through the bear market, I think that Decentraland is going to be one of the ones that comes out with some of the most interesting and exciting projects and ideas. I'd say that if you haven't actually become part of this community, and the fact that you should just go and get some dance emotes and go to some of the events as much as possible, because I think that's where the heart of Decentraland is in the community. And again, completely back to Gia's point, really excited to see what the future holds. So, and thank you for having me on the panel.
Yeah, thanks for joining in and sharing your experience and having amazing talk. Steve?
Yeah, bear markets are always a phenomenal time to build. And I suspect this one will drag on maybe another year. So we've got a bit of time yet to build. But for anybody who wants to build, people often have to, I've got an idea, and they go off and they do something. And if you're looking at this and again, I look at it from a business point of view, except there's education, there's a whole range of other things. But if we're looking to build a business, look down any high street. The vast majority of businesses fail. 95% of all businesses fail. And that's because in most cases, they're not satisfying a need. And so if you're building anything, what need are you satisfying? So it's identify a need and build to satisfy that need. And if you can do that, you vastly reduce. I mean, there's lots of things that you can fall foul of in running any business, but you vastly improve your chances of success if you try to satisfy a need. It's identify the need and take the time to do that first, then build.
Thanks a lot. And Chris?
With me, I think maybe a lot of you guys may know I lived in China for about 15 years. I did my bachelor's, my MBA, and my doctorate degree all in Mandarin. And one of the things, so half my culture is half American, half Chinese. And one of the things about the Chinese culture, we call them Leifeng, Leifeng. Leifeng was a very, very famous dude in the Chinese culture. And why is he very famous? Because he did everything for the community. He did everything to benefit the local people, and he didn't ask for anything. But after he passed and he left the world, he became a historical figure in society all around the world, especially in China. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of people come to me today and they see that MetaTrekkers, we have a million in voting power, which is not our voting power, which is delegated. And they see a lot of things about us and they say, how are you guys doing it? Is because we in the beginning, we gave to the community for free. We didn't ask anything. We do Wearable Wednesdays, on Fridays. We have so many events that we do. So it's about giving to the community, giving to people, contributing, and we believe in karma. These things will come back, but it's about, just like what John F. Kennedy said, it's not what you can do for, it's not what, he said, ask what not what the country can do for you, but what you can do for the country. And I think that's the mentality that you need to have in Web3 and in building. And I think that's what's going to take us to the next level. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. And thank you all for this amazing panel discussion. It was a kind of first-time experience for me, and I think for most of us, having panel inside Zoom and Zoom inside Decentraland. So thanks. It's like crazy, but it's very fun and very effective, I think. And I'm looking at the functionality from Decentraland to come out where we don't have to use Zoom, but we're gonna use our avatars, and avatars should have some microphone or speaker function where we can hear everybody. So I think like for the next year vendor conference, I'm sure Carl gonna make it yearly, and the vendor's gonna expand and expand. We're gonna have this functionality from Decentraland. Actually, today I'm gonna also ask this question to Decentraland co-founder Esteban, what he thinks about it, because imagine how cool it will be to having discussions between the avatars in the stage inside Decentraland, not using Zoom. So let's see. I hope next year we're gonna do like that. So thanks a lot for joining in. Please don't leave Decentraland. In 45 minutes around, we're gonna have vendor coming in and speaking about his amazing project. And then we will have following vendors. And at the end of the day, we're gonna have 2 amazing keynote speakers. And yeah, please stay tuned, come inside the Decentraland and listen to us. Thanks again for participating. Thank you.
Thank you, Nodo.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.